So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. The meeting of Technology Advisory Group is called to order. Craig, will you take a roll call, please?
Yep. Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. Right. Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate that. Tom Bacon. Tom, do we have you on? I see him on video. All right, we'll come. All right, Tom, I see you on. Are you present?
Yes, I am present. Sorry, just getting in. Thank you.
No problem at all. Mike Chickaron?
Present.
Chris Dalmolin?
Present.
Travis Cutright?
Present.
Justin Fair?
Present.
Robert Fisher?
Present.
Steen Hambrick? Steve Holiday?
Here.
Jim Keane? Jim, I see you on, but you are muted. All right, we'll come back to Jim. Tracy Mills?
Here.
Here.
Sasson Parida Zadi? And Jeff Sheets.
Present.
Okay, and we do have a quorum.
Awesome. Are there any other members participating we've not called? Doesn't sound like it, so please remember to mute your phones, your mics when you're not speaking. And I'd like to welcome Steen on?
Yeah, we welcomed Steen last month. Sorry about that. I can.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah. Can get a second welcome, but he's actually not here today.
All right, carry on there. So at this point in the agenda, it's a call to audience. And so do we have members of the public? Well, members of the public were asked to submit written comments related to the meeting on the MAG website within an hour of the posted start time for the meeting. Craig, have we received any public comment?
We have not received a comment on this or any other agenda item.
Awesome. So we carry on then. Item number 3 is approval of January 19th, 2023 meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to recommend approval of January 19th, 2023 meeting minutes?
Motion to approve. This is Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy. And we get a second.
I'll second. Mike Chickaron.
Thank you, sir. Craig, will you take a roll call, please?
Yep. Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. When I call your name, please indicate by saying aye if you approve of the minutes. Tom Bacon?
Aye.
Mike Chickaron?
Aye.
Kim Clark? Chris Dalmolin?
Aye.
Travis Cutright?
Aye.
Justin Fair?
Aye.
Robert Fisher?
Aye.
Steen Hambrick? Steve Holiday?
Aye.
Jim Keane, are you with us, Jim? Can I hear Jim? Tracy Mills?
Aye.
Bill Osborne? Greg Pataz?
Aye.
Sasson Parida Zadi? And Jeff Sheets.
Aye.
You with us, Jeff? Still see you on mute.
Aye. Yes.
And the motion does pass.
Awesome. So agenda item number 4 is jobs information management system update, and Susan Hudson from MAG will provide an update on the jobs information management system, GIMS. So thank you, Susan. Are you ready to rock and roll? There we go.
Okay, Susan, you should be seeing your presentation right now.
I'm sorry, I was muted.
No problem at all.
All right, yes, jobs and information 4.0. Next slide. My name is Susan Hudson. I'm one of the developers of the Jobs Information 4.0. Next slide. So the initial design was done by ASU CIC. The developers are myself, Brian Powell, and John Christensen. And our subject matter expert is Eunice Brown from Tempe. Next slide. Our user group and other support is provided by the following agencies: MAG, Scottsdale, Tempe, Queen Creek, El Mirage, Surprise, Peoria, Avondale, and Tolleson. Next slide. So what have we been working on? Next slide. So we updated the database to a true relational database by implementing primary keys, foreign keys, unique key constraints. This saves space and also enforces referential integrity. We also added logical delete columns to the primary data tables, primarily the ones that users would be updating, as a way to provide for data recovery if needed. As part of the application architecture, we have a data access layer, DAL, we call it the DAL. It is a component of layered architecture, which follows the separation of concerns principle. This allows for an application that is more easily modified and extended. The DAL is reusable and independent of business logic and data storage. Its primary function is to facilitate between these two other layers. For data access technology in the DAL, we are using the code first report approach for entity framework. The code first approach allows us to build and update the database using C#, but the benefits of which are the code and database schema are in sync and version controlled. And using functionality within entity framework migrations, we can convert the existing database structure into the new structure. Also, if there are any future changes to the database, we can easily implement them as a code update. We also did some data cleanup by purging some defective data. Since in the past there were, it wasn't a relational database. So basically they could type in any, codes that they wanted. And in some cases we discovered that there were things that were entered that couldn't be associated with any known organization. So that's some of the data that we cleared out. Next slide. So for security, we are using ASP.NET Identity. This is a user management library that includes functionality for password complexity, password hashing, password validation, email confirmation, and user lockout. Passwords are encrypted and are not readable or decryptable within the database. The complexity is set so that it's at least 6 characters long, must include a number, a lowercase letter, an uppercase letter, and a special character. Some pages are public, such as the home page, which you saw in the first slide, and the search page. But most pages require users to log in for authentication. Registered users are assigned a user role, and the user roles determine what is viewable and editable in the application. The user roles include admin, super user, and user. Users are administered within the application by admins or super users within their own organization. On this page, you can see an example of the login. The login shows that the user enters either their username or email and their password. The password is masked. They also have an option to click on the, forgot my password button so they can go through that process and recover their password. You also see an example of the administration view. This would only be accessible to admins. Next page, or next slide. Search. So the search is public and accessible to all. Login is not required. It allows you to do text search and searches by multiple criteria. It has multiple views, either a list view or a grid view. It allows for multiple sorting options, and you can filter to export subsets of the data. Next slide. Okay, the My Profile is accessible to all registered users. Here they can update their own contact information or change their own password. Okay. Next page. Okay, data management is offered in two views. There's the administration view, which you saw an example of that previous slide, and My Organization, which you see here. These views are viewable and editable according to the user's assigned role. Each offer multiple drawers, having a form or a grid to which the user may create, read, update, or delete data records for a particular data table. In some cases, they can also import or export data. Editing functionality is processed one record at a time, except in cases where we're offering importing and exporting data. In these cases, it would be processed as a batch of multiple records. The data import templates are available to download also in these cases. Drawer options also vary according to the view. In some things will not be, viewable in administration or My Organization, according to the user role. The My Organization view is accessible to all registered users. All drawers are viewable by the registered users, but in some cases may be restricted to super users for actual data management editing ability. Importing and exporting is offered in the managed jobs and managed pay plan stores. The administration view is accessible only to admins. All drawers are only viewable and editable by admins. Importing and exporting is not available in this view. It's only available in My Organization. Next slide. So what are we doing next? Next slide. We are creating the jobs data management, which will include the ability to import and export data. Therefore, the process, the editing process will be done in a batch of multiple records. It'll be very similar to what we have already done in pay plan. The executive data is a separate data set from jobs, and that it has additional details, benefits, reporting relationship, contract renewals, that kind of thing. This functionality, the editing functionality, will be done one record at a time. We're not implementing importing and exporting of this data at this time. Document management will provide the ability to upload and store documents such as job descriptions, organization charts, and that. And for benchmarks, we will have templates that can be customizable. Next slide. Any questions?
Chairman, members of the committee, I just wanted to add a little bit of context here. We've been working with Tempe to refresh the GIMS application. We wanted to bring this back to you to kind of show you where we're at and where we're going, because we're starting to talk about the import export, and I suspect that at some point you will be contacted about extracting data to push to the system. The feedback we got from our user team was that was what the missing piece for making this able to be kept regularly updated and functional. So we will, of course, come back to you again in the future with updates, but this is more for situational awareness.
Thank you, Audrey, and thank you, Susan. We have any questions from the membership?
Travis, this is Justin.
Hey, Justin.
Just curious on overall, two questions, overall timeline to roll out. And then I know our HR team uses the gyms heavily. So are there any thoughts or strategizing to communicate awareness to the HR departments that may be the heavy users?
Absolutely. So our user group is primarily HR users. And when we get past the kind of testing phase, we're hoping to do a rollout using that group. They have some kind of groups that already, professional groups that they're in, that we're hoping to leverage to communicate that. I would think within 6 months that we would be in a position to shift over. The existing system is still available. The real challenge is it doesn't get updated as regularly by as many people. So we're really hoping to do a push first to our member agencies and then possibly even throughout the state to get the more data into the system and make it more usable for people. Did I answer your?
Yes, no, absolutely. Thank you.
What other questions do we have? Hearing none, this item is on the agenda for information discussion only. So we'll move on to item number 5, the 911 Study Committee update. Audrey, could you give us an update on the 911 Study Committee?
Thank you, Chairman, and please feel free to jump in. So the study committee is continuing to meet and talk about issues related to the 911 system. The thing I wanted to most bring to your attention is that we are currently doing the interviews that were part of that project. So it started last week and we're hoping to be done by the 31st. We've been meeting with the PSAP manager, the 911 oversight committee member or equivalent. So that's usually a police or fire chief. And then the city manager or their designee, because in some of the cities, it's like a deputy city manager that oversees this. And we're kind of moving quickly through that process. That's going to be used to identify what the region values most in the 911 system, what their top priorities are, what trade-offs they're willing to make as we go into the second phase, which is evaluating technologies in peer regions and our existing system to understand what's available. And then in the final phase, we'll be actually kind of doing that cross tabulation of what meets the needs we've identified in the best way possible and kind of what options are there for proceeding. That completes my update.
Thanks, Audrey. Can you talk a little bit about the timelines? I think we were targeting August, like the beginning of August. I'm just going off the top of my mind now to wrap this up with the consultant. Yes.
So at our April study committee meeting, we're supposed to review the work from this first task. And then I believe May, the second task, they're supposed to have a final work product to us in July. The committee probably won't meet till August. So we would have the final work then. We are, of course, trying to accelerate that process whenever possible. So we've been working to get those interviews moving as quickly as possible, collect the information they need for phase 2. So ideally we would finish faster, but that is the current contracted timeline.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Audrey from the membership?
Audrey, so you're saying by 2023 August, you're going to have a recommendation for a product replacement?
I don't know if it would be a product replacement, but for a way forward. So it
Okay.
could be the existing system, it could be the state system, it could be some other technology, it could be some combination of all of the above.
Okay. Your recommendation will come in August, though.
That is the current plan unless we can get it done faster.
Okay.
So we're actively working with all our members to accelerate whenever we can.
Thank
Any
you.
other? Thank you, Tracy. Have any other questions? Stain, just a heads up, I mentioned this to Audrey before the meeting started. Jeff Bartney reached out to our city manager, Chris Brady, and he said he had some information from the state saying that they're considering only paying for equipment going forward, not staffing costs and that sort of thing. And so we'll dig into that some more. He had asked me if I was aware of that, and I had not heard of it. So I just wanted to mention that to you also. So.
Okay, thanks.
Good deal. All right. So this item was on the agenda for information discussion only. We'll go to item 6, constituent management. And I believe Steen had brought this up, and we'll discuss constituent management tools that are being used in the different agencies, if anyone wants to kick that off.
Chair, this is Steen.
Hey, Steve.
If I can, let me just elaborate a little bit of why I asked that this be added to the agenda. Within the city of Phoenix, we're looking at our elected officials and how they interact with the residents. And right now, we don't have really proper tools, or these offices don't have proper tools to manage those relationships and track actions that are coming across. So we're actually in the midst of an RFI evaluating a number of vendors with case management solutions that are geared towards elected official offices. And so my question was really geared towards how are other municipalities in Maricopa County interacting or providing support or resources to their elected officials in having those engagements. On the back end, we have CRM solutions that are looking at how departments are taking service requests from residents and fulfilling those requests, but that's a little bit different than what we're looking at from how elected officials interact with their constituents. Hopefully that context helps clarify things.
Thank you, sir. Anyone want to start? And there was silence. Jeff knows I'm looking straight at him. That's why he's smiling over there.
I don't think Steen will like the system we're using to monitor that. So
it's probably the same system we're using here in Mesa, I would imagine. We're not that advanced in this particular area. The constituents kind of reach out to our council members, and so information flows to staff and back up through council and that sort of thing. So it's kind of an informal communication method here, but our council functions a little differently than the council in Phoenix. I'll just say that. Hopefully it starts functioning a little better over there. But council will reach out to the department heads. We keep the city manager in the know, and if there's something that comes in from a constituent that they want us to respond to, we'll engage the constituent and try to get them the answers, and just make sure we keep the mayor and council in the loop, in the respective districts.
Yeah, I think from the Phoenix side, we're in a similar boat. I mean, we're using some, kind of custom homegrown tools to assist, but they're homegrown. And
Right.
from my past experience on the federal side, there were vendors out there that really tailored essentially they're SaaS-based COT solutions that are geared towards elected officials. And so it really helps, a council member or a mayor, engage their constituents and not only kind of track those things that are escalation type things where, a service request with a department isn't fulfilled or isn't fulfilled to their expectation. And now they're troubleshooting or trying to act on behalf of their constituent. It's also the ability to kind of understand where their constituents, whether their interests are, whether it's public safety or graffiti or homelessness or whatever, and provide targeted correspondence to them for those that are, interested in those types of areas. So we're trying to look at, things that are already pre-built, designed for an elected official's office. But the other part, kind of to what you're saying, that is really, I think, the more difficult thing that we're trying to tackle is how do they do that and engage a city's departments for this follow-up or for information on ongoing or potentially closed transactions, and how can they do that without necessarily talking to a liaison in the department? Is there ability to give them some level of access to information where they can answer a constituent's request very quickly without even having to go back to a department or to the city manager's office? So
absolutely. This may be an opportunity to Craig if someone wants to reach out to some vendors and maybe have some presentations, maybe we get a couple of vendors come in and present on their platform and for all of us to see, because it sounds like we're all kind of in the same boat, and it would definitely behoove us to kind of get on the same page with this thing. I think we'd have a lot more leverage.
I don't think this is really this isn't a just out of the blue. Everybody's dealing with this kind of challenge, but I think it's somewhat informal. But to your question about evaluating, like I said, we're at the city. We're currently in an RFI process. We've already done an initial evaluation of the submittals. We're now preparing for demonstrations of the top 5 or 6. So this is information that I think would be potentially valuable to the members of this group.
Yes. Well, since you're that far along, if you whittle it down to 1 or 2 or 3, maybe you can come back and have those folks present to us, or maybe give us a summary of what the offerings are and that sort of thing.
Will do. Thank you.
I'm good at handing out work. Greg?
Hey, Travis. Yeah, this is Greg. So the city manager's office came to us with this a few months back, and we're in a proof of concept. We're trying to leverage our Esri product. There's a citizen problem reporter component that comes with that subscription, at least for us. So we've been using it internally. We haven't turned on the public facing aspect of it yet, but we've taken the email correspondence that's been going back and forth internally and put that into this platform, and that seemed to work pretty well. I probably have an update for you guys in the next couple of months on how that's progressing, but seems to be promising. It has some of the capability, mentioned graffiti. So, if a citizen puts in that request, the next person will see that request has been put in and where it's at, and maybe stop some of those duplicate calls that they're seeing. So has potential, at least for us. I don't know, at a larger scale how that's going to work, but it definitely feels better than the emails and the spreadsheets that our city manager's office was using before.
Yeah. With regards to graffiti abatement and those type pothole reporting and that sort of thing, we use CityWorks, and we've got it integrated in our Mesa Now mobile app. and so folks can take pictures or whatever it is and submit those, and it's got the workflow built into it and all that stuff. But yeah, so cool. Yeah, we'll be interested in hearing how you progress. Any other comments, questions? All right. It's the time of the agenda that everybody's been waiting for, and that's the agency project updates. And I know everyone's clamoring to speak, so just don't all speak at one time. Who'd like to start off with some cool effort that you got going on, or any kind of or issue that you've
Chair,
faced? Yeah.
if I could bring us back to 911.
Okay.
I did follow up on your question. I was told City of Phoenix and ADOA are continuing to have funding discussions. They appear to be on a positive path. And it looks like we'll be following the normal process for FY24.
Awesome.
At this time. So does that address your?
No, that's great. That's great. You gotta love that, being resourceful. So thanks for pulling that information so quickly. All right. So agency updates. So I'll start off here in Mesa, just an update on our effort to help bridge the digital divide and our deployment of CBRS in the underserved parts of the community. So we've got 10 square miles that we've been building out a CBRS system, and also expanding our at Mesa Wi-Fi to cover this 10 square miles that was identified in the census tract as being underserved. So we're about 70% deployed, our towers and that. And so we partnered with a nonprofit organization that they received something like $35 million to go into 5 cities and help address the digital divide and that. And so that includes a laptop, handouts, training, and that sort of thing. And so we partnered with this nonprofit, and so they've been out, they hit the ground running and moved a lot quicker than we thought they were going to move. And so it generated some calls in just all parts of the city. HR received the call, a couple of council members about folks knocking on the door with a volunteer badge, offering a free laptop. And so these folks were checking to see if it was some sort of scam and that. And so I guess we didn't do a very good job of communicating up front what was going on, but we've probably deployed in the neighborhood of, I'd say, 800 routers for our CBRS system, where we partnered with Mesa Public Schools to identify students that didn't have connectivity, and they would be handing out routers to those families and that. And so this nonprofit's actually going out and knocking on doors and asking folks what type of assistance they need with regards to equipment and training and that sort of thing. So we're going gangbusters now. Had some questions about this at the council study session this morning, and that. And so it's generating a lot of attention. So that's what's going on with the private cellular CBRS. I know we talked about it a while back when we started, and now we're pretty far down the deployment path and our implementation path, and it's going well.
So Travis, I had a question about that. Is that something that you and IT kind of spearheaded, or did that come from your community services department? And then the kind of follow-up to that is ongoing. Is that something that Mesa has to supply an ongoing kind of cost for, or is that something where grants kind of come in and take care of those things?
So great questions. So what started it? You got to understand our team over here at Mesa. You've got to get them there, right? When you're talking about doing something a little different, and so it was when the pandemic happened, and we realized how many folks did not have connectivity, and so the answer was going to be getting fiber to every home and business in the city, which that is our long-term goal, and we're making strides there. But short term, I communicated to the city manager and the mayor that we got to do something that you can deploy a lot quicker than years, and that's where the CBRS came from, and that spurred from, and then we already had our Mesa Wi-Fi network, and so we were going to expand that because where we were at was fairly close to these underserved areas anyway, and so we kind of kicked off the effort here in innovation and technology, and we did a proof of concept, brought the mayor out to a park and showed him, we got one of our CBRS routers, and he went out to YouTube and kind of did some things to see, what the response time was like. And so it kind of grew legs from there. So we were able to use ARPA funds to build this network out and expand our public Wi-Fi. I think we had about $6 million between the two allocated to us. So as far as the support piece, we contracted with Motorola, and a part of that contract was them providing service and support for I think it's like a 5-year agreement, and so this nonprofit, in the meantime, we ran across this nonprofit outfit that they offered to take the support calls and that sort of thing, and so there's not that much of a lift after the deployment on city staff side. Any issues with the routers, Motorola and the nonprofit's going to handle, and then you get the training the nonprofit was going to handle. So I've not had to add additional staff yet, and if this grew past what we've got, the 10 square miles we have planned, we'd probably be looking at having to get a bigger pipe and that sort of thing, and which would cost money. And so I made the mayor and council aware of, if we continue to expand it, there's going to be a cost associated with that for the ongoing support and service, but we're not there right now. We can't reach El Mirage yet, so don't ask.
Yeah, well, you probably knew where I was going with that. When I used 10 miles, El Mirage is only about 11. So
right.
It was an interesting kind of wheels turning thought process, but we'll worry about that a little bit down the road, maybe. But good information. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else?
Travis, this is Justin. I'm kind of curious. You mentioned it, that you view the long-term strategy truly being fiber. And so I know that there's drumming up more and more interest from the service provider side here in the West Valley. And so I think there's opportunity for us, for the West Valley group, to collaborate on that. But kind of curious, and then I think this week we saw Amazon release their fixed wireless solutions, their SAT solutions. So I guess the general question is fiber still truly the best long-term strategy? When you get SAT solutions that can get up to 400, meg per second, is that still to go forward, that fiber first, even though it, like you said, it's 2 to 3 year build out, but you have to have an interim solution on that? Kind of curious from the group's thoughts on that. Is fiber still the best long-term strategy for the investment costs?
It's interesting because I brought that up, a couple of years ago when we were talking about trying to get fiber everywhere. I'm like, well, you know, with this wireless technology, you know, and the cost to deploy fiber versus, you know, these other wireless options, it may not be, you know, the long haul plan, but still our, you know, there's definitely gonna continue to be you know, a need for glass, you know, in the ground. You know, if you think about the traffic systems and, you know, everything else that leverages you know, glass and that. And so I will say, though, it can get deployed a lot quicker if cities will do like we did here in Mesa and convince engineering that micro trenching is okay and no one's going to die. And because now that we've opened up those floodgates, we've got, I think, three folks that's in the ground right now, you know, putting glass down, AT&T, I think Google, and Wired. They're out there doing constructing right now, you know, and the whole the key was allowing them to you know, changing the engineering standards and allowing micro trenching.
Yeah, and I know that our engineering team refers back to the study that Phoenix did. So Steen, I'm kind of curious from your side, where did that ever land? Have you guys seen some movement within Phoenix based upon that study, more acceptable use of the micro trench? Because I do agree, you know, a couple thousand feet per day versus a couple 100 feet per day.
Yeah.
It's economics. But Steen, I'm curious from Phoenix's perspective, are you guys gaining more support for doing micro trenching?
It's a great question. When Travis mentioned micro trenching, I was thinking very, very much, you know, how that's an inhibitor to us right now. It's definitely against our codes. So which means that we're turning away business or potential because of the requirements for or the prohibitions for micro trenching. You know, it's something that I'm just starting to delve into, so I don't really have a good answer for you, but I can tell you right now, you know, the answer is we don't allow micro trenching in Phoenix. And as a result, it's like you said, it creates a situation, you know, I think from an engineering perspective, there's definitely, you know, understandably, you know, a case for why microtrenching is not preferred, but from the economics perspective and what's the risk perspective, I mean, you know, it's probably something that needs to be revisited.
Yeah. So I can speak to that some, you know, with, you know, going through the process of getting our engineers here. You know, and I worked for an engineering firm for 11 years before I moved back in the public sector, and engineers like to do things like they have always done them, and that's so doing things that are a little different can be uncomfortable for engineers. So our city engineer's response when I first brought up micro trenching was, you know, this is my license and my livelihood on the line. If somebody gets killed, you know, blah blah blah. And I said, give me one example of a time when somebody fell into a 2-inch wide, 12-inch deep trench and died. I mean, you know, we need to think differently about how we do business. Micro trenching has been around for like 30 years, you know, and it's widely used in Europe. It's new to the States, but it's not a new construction method and that. And so, you know, we went out and visited a couple of sites in California and took the engineers along with us, and they looked at the process and we got them on board, and the you know, city manager got behind it fairly quickly, and so that helped to get everybody else on board. And so I think just maybe even doing a field trip out here and having them look at what it is we're doing and talk to our engineering department, and that might help.
Yeah, we had those, that exact conversation this week. Because we've had several vendors, you know, same ones you've mentioned, Travis, knocking on our doors, and engineering's, we've had so many fiber permits pulled, engineering's overwhelmed with doing their inspections and all that sort of thing. So they're actually, we've been in talks with Mesa, to kind of looking at, our engineers have, to kind of compare notes and lessons learned. And, you know, at this point, I think we're open to micro trenching. We don't have an agreement yet, but you know, we're looking at doing some road improvements and some repaving. So they're kind of looking at that as like, let's get all this done before we start, you know. So if we can get these people in here in a couple of years and get them out, then we can do some road resurfacing. So we're exploring that as well here.
Yeah, and you bring up a point. You know, our transportation department, they were concerned about you know, going out and tearing up the streets, and you know, and they were concerned about the mill and overlay. You know, is that gonna, what kind of coordination are we gonna have to do, you know, with the mill and overlay? But mill and overlay doesn't go down that deep. This micro trenching is 12 inches down. I think mill and overlay, you know, is like, you know, 4 or 5 inches. So there's no conflict there. And the cool thing is, you know, when the micro trench goes down and the I'll call it scarring between the asphalt and the curb, it's only 2 inches wide. And when you do the mill and overlay, you can't even tell it's in there then, because you've kind of paved over all that. And yeah.
Yeah, we're going to explore too. Our engineers wanted to explore, can we do more with the, because I think some of the proposed, at least from Google, right, is they do the cut right at the lip of where the asphalt and the curb and gutter meet. They're wanting to know if what can we do around the sidewalk area, you know, and then that saves a lot of concerns about pavement and asphalt and all that too. So they were going to reach out and we'll have further conversations.
Deal. All right, what else is going on out there? Robert?
Well, I was just going to comment on the last topic. We actually have a micro trench standard, but we're finding some of the providers that want to come in want us to ease up on our requirements. And for example, I'll use Google as an example. We've got 9 concerns with what they want to do and easing up on our standard. And so we're pretty much at an impasse that we've agreed that doesn't make sense to move forward. So
is it the depth? Is it because micro trenching, you can go down fairly deep. Is it the depth that they're worried about?
We have
the more cost.
We have an issue of depth just to the top of the conduit, but we have backfill concerns, pavement replacement concerns. There's about 9 topics. And so we've been at least the last email I saw that was with the Google representatives, there were 9 concerns that we were at an impasse. And so we're probably, you know, not moving forward with them at this time, at least at this time. So
I mean, that's good. I like Mesa leading. So keep doing your thing. No,
yeah. Well, we have we've got also a given area of constituents that will not be happy with any of this if it goes in at all. But that's a whole nother story. So
right, yeah. Yeah, sure.
whole nother level of comment back to our council if they were to move forward and go against what the standards are. So
absolutely. Good deal. Anyone else have anything to share with the group?
Mr. Chair, this is Steen. Just a couple of things from a Phoenix perspective that, you know, I think we're cleaning up shop in some areas where things were kind of not addressed for a while, and now we're catching up on them. One is privileged access management. We have an ongoing initiative with that, and we're getting ready to implement that for the city, which will be amazing. And another one is a DRAS solution for the city. So we're basically scrapping our old disaster recovery service for the city and going with a cloud-based solution that is more enterprise focused. So those are a couple major issues that we've got. for initiatives that we've got going on in Phoenix.
Cool. Thank you, sir. All right, well, requests for future agenda items. I'd recommend that we, if you're far enough along, Steen, maybe we revisit where you guys are at with the constituent management, and then I think Greg, maybe he'll have some additional information for us at that time also.
That'd be great. Be happy to.
Awesome. What other future agenda items? It's not even lunchtime. I mean, it's 10:50, so you can't be trying to run out the door. All right. Well, I guess that's it. Craig, the next meeting of MagTag is scheduled for Thursday, May 18th, 2023 at 9 a.m. And so just please note the early start due to a conflict with RWC. And with that, business is concluded. So thank you all for joining us.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.